Welcome everyone to the Undercover Brony Reviews. The episode reviewed today will be the Season 9 Retrospective with John from the Undercover Brony and Snakeskin 94.
Well, that's it then. Season 9, the final season, is over. So let's talk about it, shall we?
So this is the the epilogue, the post-credit scene, the mid-credit scene, the DLC.
Yes.
This is Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind Final Mix.
Hmm.
So what we do here is that you know how we spent 3 weeks going through every episode of the season? Well, we're kind of going to do it again, but we're going to rate it as a whole. And instead of this being a 3-hour discussion, which would probably be if you added up all the episodes, it's going to be like a hour.
Mm-hmm.
Strap in, boys and girls.
Brodies and Pegasisters, let's get this shit rolling.
All in-betweens and outer realms.
Yes.
See, we live in a post-oppressive America.
Yes.
It's really early. It's really early in the morning. I have coffee. Actually, it's not. It's afternoon. It's like noon where I live. But California's been like 80, 90 degrees for like the last 8 days. But now I woke up and it's like low 50s. I'm like, oh, okay, so screw you. So it looks like it's 8 o'clock.
Yeah, pretty much. So, what can I really say about this season?
It came, it went, it left a mess. No, that's not fair. That's not fair.
We came, we saw, he died.
There's already videos popping up on YouTube talking about the finale, which reviews have been up already, but I mean certain types of videos, because there's reviews and then there's reviews that are posted like after the fact, like retrospectives, but then there's these kind of reviews. Like I just saw one in my YouTube feed right now. It said something like MLP season 9 ended and it was ... okay. Those type of reviews, the reviews where they're not like us, where we talk about it and explain our opinions. No, we're talking like analytical type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, expectations and whether or not they were subverted.
Well, we're not bringing Last Jedi into this, okay?
Oh, thank God.
But one thing I will say, at least on my end of the spectrum, was I felt like in terms of our reviews in general, I feel like I was a bit more critical of this season than I was previously, because I knew this was the last season. So I'm just like,
I'm of a similar mindset. Like, there were times where before, during, and after we would review stuff, I would think to myself, like, again, before, after, and during, I'd be like, am I being too harsh? Because I mean, look, everyone's got their opinions, and everyone's got the right to stand by them. But I've always felt there's a fine line between being critical because you care and then critiquing about it because, well, there's multiple reasons why people. It's like the CinemaSins thing, where they went from being like, kind of lighthearted and jokey, to where like, oh, this is actually our job and we won't be able to make it as actual film critics, so we're going to transplant that into our concept. But then you realize they just suck at reviewing. They're just really good at nitpicking. That's my thing, is that it's real easy to get lost up in nitpicking and being too opinionated and stuck within your own certain box and guidelines, that you go from a person reviewing to a thing critiquing, if that makes any sense. My point, TLDR, is that there were times I'm like, man, am I being too critical? But I think that that's a natural thing that happens over time, the longer that you watch stuff. Someone once told me that, like, let's say, okay, so you have a band, right? They've got like 15 albums. Let's use AC/DC, right? They've got like 15 albums, more or less. And if you were to go from beginning to end, from what was their first album? I think it was well, it's the one with Angus Young standing in front of a lightning bolt, to their most recent one that was like a couple years ago. Eventually, you would go on and you'd be like, ugh, God, just get this over with. But but if you do it either piece by piece type of thing, you have more of a you're able to what's the word I'm looking for? You're able to not be as critical, if that makes sense. And not to mention, you're always gonna the things you see first are gonna be the most rose colored. We'll just use that in your mind, because like I always tell everybody, the first thing I ever watched from the show was the season 2 premiere, because I watched that one by accident, but it was so good I didn't turn it off. And I think that was a lot of people's, jumping on point, because people heard about it during season 1, but then that season 2 premiere was so fire that it brought in a whole wave of people. And then that finale was so good because it was the first real finale we had. So it was like the first of its thing for that. Like my favorite Nine Inch Nails album is With Teeth. That's like their 5th one. But so I always hold that in high regard, even though objectively Nine Inch Nails has better albums. But if you're to listen to all of them from beginning to end, eventually you'll lose your notions of being able to critique it fairly, and then you just begin critiquing it by what came before it. It's like that SpongeBob thing where everyone is just like, yeah, the first 3 seasons in the movie are lit. Everything else after that is it's like that. Just over time, naturally. I don't think you get more cynical. I think you just over time compare it favorably or unfavorably to the older stuff or the stuff that peaked for you. Now, Friendship is Magic, I think, had a longer shelf life than others, because there's a lot of things where they do that, where people will do that after season 2 or 1 or 3, like for Westworld or Walking Dead. But for the most part, this show was able to avert that. Kind of. You had some people quit after 2, and you had some people quit after 3, and people dropped up after 4, 5, 6, and whatever. But for the most part, not really. So I think it was just a thing naturally. I don't know. I don't think my expectations were like unrealistically high, but the show's been on for 10 years. I mean, I think after a certain point, you're going to, whether you want to or not, just be more critical of something. Because I can speak for both of us. It came from a place of love, not from a place of snark. I think that's the key. So, yeah. To answer your question, I kind of felt the same way, but I don't think I was really too harsher on it. Maybe I was just a little more not level-headed, but kind of objective about it, I don't know.
Yeah. So there's one thing here that I want to bring up, and this was posted a couple days ago by the Scullivan on the Brony's Facebook page.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
Are you talking about that letter from Celestia?
No. I'm talking about how Chrysalis, Cozy Glow, and Tyrek were encased in stone, and their position in the statue.
Oh, I guess.
I feel it's very pertinent to talk about, especially since it wasn't there when we did the review of that episode. And honestly, the last episode was jam-packed enough already. So,
I know. I'm not surprised we overlook stuff. And we both take pretty detailed notes. So.
Oh, yeah. So this is the gist of what he said. So I couldn't say if this was entirely intentional on the part of the animators or not, but it occurs to me that the poses they wound up frozen speaks volumes about their characters and who they really were in the end. Stop Chrysalis, lunging forward to attack, face now perpetually twisted into a snarl of rage. Even when facing death, she refused to let go of her hatred and anger for even a single second, choosing to spend
a la Wrath of Khan.
choosing to spend what very well may have been the last moments of her life still desperately trying to hurt somebody, anybody. Redemption was never an option for Chrysalis because she never was really a villain. She was a monster.
Yes. And I feel like I remember I remember when the villains had their own episode, like halfway into the first half of about a quarter way through season 9, and I mentioned how Tyrek seemed to be portrayed as like the more level-headed one, and Chrysalis was I think I misinterpreted that she was being portrayed as more badass of the two. I think realistically what it was what are those three evils? Well, whatever. She's like that, like it's like you said, she's a monster. Tyrek is that practical evil, and Cozy Glow's just that like she's weird. She's kind of like chaotic evil, but she's chaotic, but she's coherent enough to think and plan, obviously. So yeah, no, I remember I read that too, and the Chrysalis one I really agreed with.
Yeah. Now you were saying chaotic evil, and before I get back to this, I want to kind of diverge into this Tumblr post I saw where it was a dog who had gone through the helper dog training, like the therapy dog stuff, to like open doors and turn off lights and stuff like that. And the dog learned all those commands, but just did it whenever the fuck he felt like it. So someone at the very end of that was like chaotic good boy. So
that's pretty funny. I like that.
Yeah. So next, Tyrek turned away, cowering in fear, arms raised to protect himself, eyes screwed shut in a tight grimace. For all of his bluster about strength and power, in the end, he couldn't even look his enemies in the eye. Tyrek bullied his way through life with a stolen power and intimidation. But when stripped of all that, he's revealed to be nothing more than a coward.
I mean, it makes sense.
Wow.
I mean, he was I didn't know about that one too much because I don't think Tyrek was a coward necessarily. I look at it more as, at his core, he's a very old man who used magic steroids to get swole, and I feel like the arms up because if you look on his face, it's more a thing of like he's not looking away in terror. I interpret it as, he's accepting his fate, but the rainbow's really bright because it's a rainbow getting shot at you.
Mm-hmm.
So, with Chrysalis, I just figured she was blinded by hatred that, she forewent. She said, screw the fact that a rainbow's getting shot at my face. I'm going to try to eat your children type of thing.
Yeah. And then there's Cozy Glow. She perhaps got it worst of all, petrified with an expression of dawning terror. She's not angry like Chrysalis or cowering like Tyrek. Cozy seems legitimately scared of what's about to happen to her. It's as if in her final moments, she realized that she wouldn't be able to use her cute looks and innocent play acting to charm her way out of this. For the first and last time in her short life, Cozy Glow is struck with the enormity of the consequences of her actions. And
they're not dead. They're just petrified. I mean, granted, Cozy Glow most likely isn't immortal like Tyrek. I'm assuming, Chrysalis, I think, and Discord, which explicitly she's not immortal like them or whatever, or lives very long, but like, hasn't petrification always worked? Like when you get turned to stone, it's like your age kind of halts. Does it make sense? Not really, but it's just kind of one of those suspension of disbelief things that happen.
Mm-hmm. Now, going back into this, it also says the reality she couldn't escape the consequences anymore, escape them anymore. It clearly terrified her because she was just a kid after all. Damn. Like,
You know, I have a theory about these villains. It's probably not going to happen, but I have a theory. Okay, so this season 10 in the comics, obviously it takes place before Twilight's taller or whatever, so they won't have anything to do there. What I think could happen is just hear me out. Maybe they get carried over to Gen 5. Maybe somehow, some way, when they do the Gen 5 movie, what is it, next year or the year after? When they do the Gen 5 movie, maybe somehow, some way, they do some split worlds bullshit, and somehow, some way they get free, and they're the villains of that one. And either that's where they either get killed off forever or they get redeemed or whatever. But at the end, they go back to Gen 4 world, and then we're left with Gen 5 ponies, and we follow their adventures. I think that could work because it was Nightmare Moon that brought the main six together, who was an old villain from an old time, which is what they would be depending on how long Gen 5 takes place after Gen 4, if it is even a Connect universe. I'm not saying it is or will be. They're being very hush-hush about it. But also, I thought it was very interesting that they were in stone, because that's what happened with Discord. He got turned into stone. Well, so did the Ice King, and he died. But they got turned into stone like Discord. And Discord, granted, got sealed up in stone again, but, he reformed, and that was technically what? Oh wait, no, that was like his third chance. No, yeah, that was like his second chance, and then he betrayed them, so he had a third chance. So it would essentially just be that those villains' second or third whatever chances. So I'm not saying they are going to do that. I'm saying they should, because I'm thinking about it. That'd be sick. Can you imagine Tyrek in space, like sucking up the life force of planets, and he's just like forming evil spirit bombs and chucking planets at people? That'd be awesome.
I could just imagine Tyrek sucking the magic out of like fucking Futurama characters or something.
And then the second you said Futurama, I heard the theme song. Dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't want to live on this planet anymore. No, you don't.
That'd be fantastic if they did what I said. They probably won't. It makes me really sad. I'll still check out Gen 5 though.
Yeah, totally. Do you feel like in general they ended off the series in a good cohesive way?
I feel like they ended it the best they could. I know everyone has their opinions on what they could have done better, could have done blah 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 blah. But I'm gonna quote something I told you when you were texting me like last week. There is nothing, okay, and I want to make this clear. I want to make this so clear that, like, if someone watched this and they're like, wow, that's a good point, that they edit this out and make it its own video. I want to make this perfectly clear. There is nothing that DHX and Hasbro, right, and that writing team could have done that would have pleased everyone. And MLP's been a very divisive show since the end of season 2, okay? And I've always respected the show for taking the opportunities and the risks of changing status quo and doing different things. There are some things they didn't execute no more status quo on, but still, whatever, they still did it, like destroying the treehouse, Twilight becomes an alicorn. There was consistent story arcs across the thing, whatever. My point is, there was nothing they could have done that would appease everyone. Take shipping out of it, because people always like to get mad at ships that don't get canonized. And they're like, oh, you didn't canonize my ships. That's legitimate criticism. No, it's not, because because shipping and look, I love shipping, okay? It's fun. It's great, and it's it's the ultimate wish fulfillment, especially if it's written well. But all it is, it's entire relationships based off superficial or coincidental properties in the art medium. You know what I mean? And that's what we base our theories and fan fictions on. When in reality, look, I ship Flutterdash, okay? But in reality, all they ever were was childhood friends that were really close. Same thing with well, that's really the only example I got. But you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think I honestly don't think it's legitimate criticism when people, because there are fandoms like that where they will hate anything solely because of the shipping. And I'm looking at you. I'm like Invader Zim. You've got Naruto. You've got One Piece. You got Fairy Tail, and those are just examples. Those are just little examples. I'm not even getting into like the X-Files, where it took control of the whole show for like 2.5 seasons.
Or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 3.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. My least favorite thing about Marvel's Netflix's Daredevil was all the stupid love triangles between Karen Page and like the whole cast. So saying you don't like something solely because of shipping is not the same as saying you don't like something because you didn't like the way the romance was written. Those are different things. Now, if they had tried to, I don't know, had a whole episode that was dedicated to Cheese Sandwich and Pinkie Pie falling in love, and the episode just wasn't written that well, that's one thing. But if you didn't like it because you didn't ship Pinkie Pie with cheese because you shipped Pinkie Pie with somebody else, or because you're one of those people that says het is ew, as TV Tropes puts it, then I'm sorry, that's not legitimate criticism. And if you're going to tell me, well, criticism is subjective, and if someone doesn't like something because two characters they didn't like ended up together, foregoing anything else in the show, then that person sucks at critiquing things.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing? Probably not, but I'm making it a thing.
Yeah.
And the ending overall, look, it was the natural conclusion. Twilight ascends to princesshood. Spike stays by her side. Rarity keeps going with her career. Rainbow Dash keeps going with her military sports team. Applejack stays on Apple Farms. Honestly, whether it was ship or not, Fluttershy, they implied she moved in with Discord, whatever. That actually almost makes sense. The only thing that doesn't make sense really is who's taking care of her animal preserve. Maybe they mentioned that and I forgot. But honestly, everything made sense, whether you liked it or not. Based on the quality of execution, that's where the objective, subjective nature of it all comes into play. But if you were to ask me, did I like the way it ended? It's a two-part answer. One, yes, in the sense that it made sense. Mm-hmm. Two, honestly, yes, because it made sense, and B, I thought it was symbolic and poetic. And dog, tell me you didn't feel like weeping when the last shot of the last episode was the book closing.
Yeah.
That's like something out of those old Walt Disney movies. Like you put on Snow White or Cinderella, opens with the book opening, and then it closes, and then the book closes at the end, because back then they used to list all the credits at the beginning of the movies, not the end. So the book just closes and the movie's over. Yeah, no, I thought it was, I'm not saying it was perfect, but nothing's perfect. So yeah, no, I thought it ended fine. I thought it ended just fine. Better than fine. I thought it ended, wait, is okay better than fine? I thought it ended good.
Okay. I would have to agree with you. I think from
doing all this talking, I should have got water, not coffee.
From what they had to work with, I feel like they did the best they could. Now, are there some things about the season finale that was kind of meh? Yeah, of course. But also, considering the final episode, I like how instead of staying in that present day, it was all kind of like a flashback.
Yeah.
And it was one last romp with the girls. I'm like, that is what it should have been. And I'm happy that it happened that way.
That last episode crammed a lot in 22 minutes. You could argue it almost crammed in more than the 2-part finale. Well, technically it was a 3-part finale, but whatever.
It crammed in more than Magical Mystery Cure.
Oh, you know what? I'll give you this. another sense of poeticness or whatever. How did season 1 end? It was the only season that didn't end with a two-parter. How does season 9 end? It's the only other season that technically doesn't end with a two-parter. Technically, it goes a two-parter and then one single episode, but they bunched it together as like a TV movie, which I still thought was really cool of them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because that show deserved it.
Yeah. So since we've done our retrospective now of season 9, let's go into where the episodes ranked. So, as always, I have a spreadsheet, and we're going to go through this, just moving my screen a little bit so that I'm not like completely looking away from the camera, because it always goes to the corner over here for some reason. So,
just stroking my double chin in anticipation.
Yes, indeed. So, there were 15 places in this season.
Which means there were ties.
Yes, indeed, like there always is.
Yes.
15th place. God,
which is the worst episode, by the way.
Of the show. I really cannot get over this. 2, 4, 6, great.
Great. More like 2, 4, 6, great disappointment.
Yeah.
Hold on. I did that wrong. Who fails at dabbing? Seriously, I suck.
Dude, even Betty White can dab better than most people.
Oh, I know. I was so mad like 3 Thanksgivings ago when some of my nephews taught my, at the time, 62-year-old dad how to dab. And this is how he does it. This is how my dad dabs. He goes, it's like he's casting a wind spell. He's just like,
right.
Like, God.
Now, dude, you can see how much we really don't want to talk about this episode.
My dad dabs better than Hillary Clinton.
So, it only
Donald Trump never dabbed.
It only got a 40%.
He just let the Kurds die.
Oh, 40.
You can cut that one out if you want.
It only got 40%.
That means we hated it. Oh God.
Yeah.
I don't mean to sound like, those cringy opinionated fat dudes you see on YouTube all the time. But I don't have a neck beard at the moment, so I think that gives my opinion a little bit more say. This episode, I hated this episode. I thought for years, that Three's a Crowd was the lowest that we could go. And then I thought, man, Cart Before the Ponies is maybe lower, but I don't think so. And then this episode came out. And then I was like, dude, can you imagine? James Cameron is not going to be able to find the bar this time, boys. I don't know if you saw that South Park episode where it's when Honey Boo Boo was coming out, and the whole joke through the episode is there were news castings in the episode. They're like, the bar has lowered, or we can no longer find the bar. So James Cameron in the episode dived down deep in the Mariana Trench to find the bar. Because Honey Boo Boo lowered the bar so much. This episode was our Honey Boo Boo, and we were the American populace back in 2014.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I just know this episode wasn't good.
Now, the reason I hated this episode was because Three's a Crowd was just squandered potential for the most part, because we knew Discord could do so much better than that, and it was just squandered. Like, everything that was in that episode came from the song, but it needs to be more throughout. Whereas this one, not only is it with one of my least favorite of the main 6,
of course,
but it's also that she was so way out of character that I was literally fuming throughout the episode.
Yes.
with how badly she was characterized.
Yes.
I don't care who you are. The fact that she was basically breaking her element in half throughout the entire episode, and Twilight had to put her in her place, that's saying something.
Oh, that's really saying something. I thought that the overall execution was just kind of botched. The moral was botched. Way it was delivered was botched. I mean, it's not like there wasn't a couple okay moments or there weren't some funny jokes, but how do I put this? This episode is what everyone thinks the show turned into during and after season 3.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You know how after season 2, everyone was like, "Oh, show sucks now." No. They look at episode like this and Cars Before the Pony, and then they're like, every episode after was like this, except now Starlight Glimmer shows up. No, this is my least favorite episode in the show. In some ways, I still hate Three's a Crowd more, even though objectively this is a worse episode. But I think it's just because Three's a Crowd is the one episode. It was the first episode where I was just like, this is bad. I know people still to this day like to point out Spike at Your Service, which, yeah, wasn't that great, but it's better than this.
It at least had the Timberwolf that was just be like, as he was joking, like, hold on a sec.
Yeah, he was like the first thing in the show to actually die. Well, no, they killed Sombra.
Yeah.
Season 3 is so weird to look back on. It feels like some kind of weird experiment because there was only the 13 episodes, which there was corporate reasons for that. But then all the weird season 3 was so weird.
Yeah, but again, we'll get to that one when we get to that. We go all the way from a 40% to a 73%.
Is that a big enough gap for you?
In 14th place with 73%, we have Uprooted.
Now, Uprooted, if you guys will recall, was the episode where
the Student 6 are trying to memorialize the tree.
Go to the tree. You know, it was unfortunate this episode wasn't that fantastic because the Tree of Harmony formed. Well, for one, I thought it was lit when that thing turned out to be sentient, and I was bummed when it got destroyed because I thought it was in a way, I think it was a missed opportunity that they destroyed the tree, or at least they destroyed it so early in season 8 because I thought the tree being sentient and subliminally passing on the torch to the young 6 in its own way, and the secret tested character, that episode where they go through that, I thought was fantastic. But the tree meant a lot to the young 6, so like, I don't know, I just felt like the episode should have been stronger in a lot of areas. You know, it just felt kind of flat. It was. I don't know if it was the worst episode, quote unquote, with the young 6, but I mean, obviously, it was far from the strongest.
And that's saying something because you gave it a 7.75.
Well, it was better than the last episode, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, we both gave 246 grade a 4.
I think when I watched this episode, if memory serves, I feel like I was a little more lenient on it because I love the young 6, so maybe I was trying to be nicer. I still don't think I would change my score, or at the very least, I wouldn't change it below a 7. But, you know, just looking back on it, it's, I mean, I can't really remember too much specifically from it. You know, I remember how it started and how it ended, and it was cute, but that's about it.
Yeah. So, eking out at 1% greater at 74%, 13th place, we have The Last Laugh. The Joke Factory.
I liked this episode.
I did too.
I thought it was fun. I thought Cheese made a triumphant return. I thought it was a good showcase for Weird Al, you know.
Yeah.
And the song was pretty good. So, you know, there haven't been that. I still stand by what I said that as far as songs go, I think the show peaked at Hearts as Strong as Horses, or at the very least, there hasn't been nothing that great since it.
I would actually argue that it peaked with Pinky Pride.
Yeah, that's a good one too.
Yeah. Now, it's not as good as Pinky Pride, nowhere near that, but it still is a very fun episode.
Yeah, I just realized we should have done is
Mm.
when you said that with a score of 40%, 246 Gray. At some point during that, you should have seen if you could have found like even if it's just recorded on someone's phone, that scene from Joker where he's just like, "You get what you deserve," but then use captions to write over Robert De Niro, write to this episode, and then over Arthur, you write the undercover Brony. It's us shooting the episode in the head.
I almost want to try and see if I could do that. Holy shit.
It'd be a pain to do it. It just came to me. I'm still on the Joker thread on Twitter, on Tumblr for some reason. And I just thought about that. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like, and with a score of 40%, 2, 4, 6, Gray. You get what you deserve. That would have been great.
I'm going to try and see if I can find that.
Yeah, if you can't, no problem. But I just thought about that right now, and it's really funny.
Yeah. Okay.
Go ahead.
So in 12th place, eking out yet one more percent at 75%, we have Going to Seed.
Now, this one, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was the episode where wasn't that an Applejack one?
Yeah, it was the Great Seedling, where they have to harvest the apples and apple blooms just Lottie to set traps and stuff like that.
Oh,
now, funny side note.
Friendship is Magic does the Great Pumpkin.
Now, funny side note about this. I sent Eddie this picture, this clock picture that was Applejack with like jizz all over herself in like different shapes, and her going, "It must be the Great Seedling."
I forgot about that.
Oh God!
It's, I remember. I thought this episode was kind of fun. I thought that Gray Smith was a little too annoying in some parts. I remember thinking, and maybe Applejack was being a little too mean to Apple Bloom. But at the same time, I was also like, yo, Apple Bloom, you guys, the Apple family is one of the big pillars of Equestria's economy. You kind of have to do your job. And poor Big Mac looked like he wanted to die.
Especially finding out that he was sleepwalking this whole time.
I mean, sleep deprivation and sleep issues just seem to be a hereditary thing when it comes to the Apple family.
Yep. At 11th place, with a score of 79%, we have She's All Yak.
I thought this episode was good. I thought it was clever. Yeah, it's your traditional, maybe even cliche, the real beauty is just about being yourself. But it's Yana. I thought Yana was probably the best one out of these main 6 because she was like funny but able to elicit empathy. She's just so naturally likable. And Sandbar mattered more than Ocellus.
Yeah, and
Sandbar, whenever Sandbar was on, I always said this, He just reminds me of just like a regular dude from California. Like when he's talking with like his like laid back accent, he's being all mellow. I'm like, dude, this guy's like speaking my English.
Right. Now, what's interesting is, at least I hope, from the time of this upload, it's the last DWK episode that he's done. And that shit was funny.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh man, good old DWK. In 10th place, we have our first tie. Both with an 80%. We have A Trivial Pursuit and Growing Up is Hard to Do.
Trivial Pursuit, I wasn't the greatest fan of. I thought it was all right. And Growing Up's Hard to Do. I remember kind of liking, but not really. Yeah, no, these were for me personally, they were kind of just in the middle episodes.
Yeah, both of them. Well, Growing Up is Hard to Do, especially, was kind of meh. I mean, it was interesting with the Beauty and the Beast reference.
I think I like that a teeny tiny bit more than you, if memory serves, but it wasn't much. And yeah, that Beauty and the Beast reference, I remember I was just like, look how blatant that is.
Yeah.
I was like, Dios mio.
Now, Trivial Pursuit, I still need to ask my buddy Jonathan, if he liked this episode, since he does trivia nights. But that was a lot of fun. Especially with seeing all the background details of like Maud and Mudbriar being on a team, and like Pinky being so uber excited about doing this. But yeah, they're both pretty good episodes. In 9th place with an 81, this one you didn't like, but I loved, so that's why it got up to this high of a spot. We have Sweet and Smoky.
I'll tell you what I do kind of like. The guitarist for Blink-182, I guess, was on stage a couple days ago, and he was dressed up as Arthur Fleck's Joker.
Can we please talk about Garble? Gargar.
Gargar. I'm sorry, what were the episodes again?
Sweet and Smoky.
Yeah, I thought this one was pretty good. I thought it was all right. There were some issues I took with it, but I mean, it didn't like torpedo the episode.
Yeah, I mean, you gave it a 6.25.
I did.
Yes, you did not like this episode with Garble being like the haiku poet or whatever.
Well, I mean, I just thought that there wasn't really a satisfying payoff, considering he's literally been torturing Spike since season 1. I mean, God, Gilda had a better conclusion to her thing than that. And Gilda only had the 2 episodes. This dude's been in like 5.
Yeah.
So I stand by my critiques of him. I don't know if I would keep the 6.25 score. Maybe I was in a bad mood that day or something. But I just it's probably not a 6.25. But I really didn't like the Garble stuff.
Mm-hmm. In 8th place with an 85%, we have A Horseshoeing. This was a fun episode. Phyllis, no!
Big surprise. We like the Starlight Glimmer episode.
Oh, yeah. And I love how, like, she's kind of stringing Trixie along. And Twilight comes in. It's like, you fucked up again, didn't you? Yes. Now, I do have to say that I'm happy at how maturely Trixie took the news, because she's like, hey, I'm not the best person with this job. Okay. But let's find you someone who is. Finding out that Sunburst is actually a really good fit for this. That I was happy about.
Yes, I thought that was done pretty well, TBH. Yeah, no, not much more to add. It was like a pretty just solid episode.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Now we have our next tie, 7th place.
I think I know which ones these are, but go ahead.
With an 86%, both eking out 1 more percent. We have the Big Mac question and the point of no return.
Okay, I thought I knew for sure Big Mac was here. Point of No Return was, what episode was that?
That was the one where Twilight was trying to return the overdue book and trying to find dusty pages in the retirement home.
That episode was really good.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, both of these episodes were I probably like that. I think in retrospect I like that one a little more than the Big Mac episode, but the Big Mac episode was sweet. But it's like I told you, the last like 3 minutes of that episode are like a 10 by themselves. The rest of the episode's kind of average. But when they walk away and they have their little heart to heart, and then they have the wedding, and then the symbolism of the apple pear tree, I'm just like, boom. I'm just like, there's two things I like, okay? Payoff to emotional emotional payoff to long-term storytelling and continuity acknowledgement. And when the two things come together, I can blow an emotional continuity load. Mm-hmm. And that's what the last like 3 minutes of this episode were. I didn't give it a higher score because it really was the last 3 minutes that were great. It probably influenced my score by a couple points, but that was really good. The one where Twilight tried to return the library book was just insane. It was just wacky. Yeah. It was wacky comedy yelling at you for 20 minutes, and I liked it. I liked it a lot. You liked both of them pretty. You thought pretty highly of these two.
Yeah. Remember, right? Your scores for Big Mac question was a 9, and Point of No Return was 8.75. So pretty good. Mine was both 9s, I'm sorry, hold on. No, mine was an 8.25 for Big Mac question and an 8.5 for Point of No Return. And I gotta say, Big Mac question, my favorite little thing was very end. Happy marriage, happy apples.
Oh God, that's right. I forgot about that. That was funny.
Yeah. Outside of that, we had the best fucking joke of the entire series. I was with Grandpa, and we were going where no pony has gone before, and Mudbriar was there, but he was kind of he had like pointy ears or something like that, and then you had Discord there. Actually, it was kind of pretty much the same. That was the best joke of the entire series, in my opinion.
That was really good. That was really good.
Point of No Return. I liked the fact that, number one, with the retirement home, it just kept exceeding your expectations. Like you have the food fight paintball arena, and you had like, being able to play in a rock band over there or whatever. That was kind of cool. I also liked where it's like, oh, you have to go down to the ridiculously overdue books for ponies who should know better. That was great. And overall, it was a great Twilight episode too.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was one of her. I thought it was one of her best.
Mm-hmm. In 6th place, we have another tie, both at an 88%. We have The Beginning of the End, the premiere, and Dragon Dropped.
Dragon Dropped was that the Sparity episode?
Yes, it was.
Oh yeah. So my condolences. But Beginning of the End, my one critique was really just Sombra's voice. I thought it should have been deeper, more evil. But I thought it was really good. I thought it was pretty ballsy for them to just bring back Sombra and then kill him off, because at the time I was like, oh, this is fantastic, because it shows how much stronger the main 6 are. It also shows how evil and cunning Sombra actually was. So you actually felt like you got the payoff to always wanting to see them fight him since season 3, because throughout the years they subtly built him up as like, oh no, trust us, this guy's evil, but then they actually showed it and it's like, holy crap, this guy's like actually really evil. So I thought it was a good showing for him. And yeah, he got killed, but it was still good. And at the time I thought, man, this is good. This is good because this shows us how powerful Grogar is. He's able to just bring all these people back and bring him back from the dead. Man, he's going to be an awesome villain.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I can't find it on IMDb, but I'm pretty sure that I think I looked this up, and the guy who did the voice for Sombra is the same guy who did the voice for Demolisher in the Transformers series from the mid 2000s, like for Armada and Energon.
What?
Yeah, yeah. And the guy who did Soren was also Ironhide from the Energon series, which honestly I gotta say, this is the only one that voice actor has a good voice in. I'm just saying, I did not like him in any of the other series that he was in. I think he was just too over the top. I liked him in Soren with Soren.
That is an oof, my friend.
Yeah. Dragon Drop, I was happy with, because at least the disparity thing was strongly hinted at, and you also got to see really cute things with Gabby, and Tabitha St. Germain's performance throughout the entire episode was dope. Her apologizing alone was funny as hell.
Yeah, well, yeah, big surprise, everyone. Tabitha St. Germain is great.
Mm-hmm. In 5th place, with a 89 out of 100, we have the Summer Sun Setback. The infiltration of Canterlot by the villains. All while they're trying to do some sort of party.
So again, at the time, I thought this was good because it was sowing the seeds for their evil plan, which granted, the turning ponies against each other thing did get followed up on. But, you know, it showed how smart they were because they were looking for the bell. Well, let me rephrase. They were looking for magical tomes for how the bell worked, which granted did get figured out. And again, it just... the episode almost kind of gets ruined because of what happened in the finale, but on its own, it was, if you're watching it from the beginning of season 9 to the end, yeah, it's pretty good. But anyway, yeah, the plot with Twilight trying to do the summer sun celebration thing, I thought was really good. And again, it was great character progression, a good showing of that for her. That was good. Yeah, pretty much only good things about it. This is just one of those episodes where you're just like, man, I wish they had more than 22 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I enjoyed it simply because, you know, one of the geese slips away trying to figure out what's going on, and Chrysalis comes back as another goose and just does her little honky.
Oh god, yeah, I forgot about that. Those dumb Luna goose memes.
Did you see the newest one where it's the goose from Untitled Goose Game with a knife in its mouth, and it's something along the lines of Luna petting it, saying revenge was never an option or something like that?
Yeah, I forgot I was going to bring that up earlier because you and I were talking about, when you were talking about how the villains got killed and you were like, redemption isn't an option. I was just thinking of that one picture of the goose with like a knife in its mouth and it's like, peace was never an option.
Yeah. I also liked it just because it started the sowing of the seeds of distrust between ponies.
Yes.
Kind of had an idea of what to expect with the ending of the end, so that was good. Which, speaking of, fourth place, 90%. Ending of the end / last problem, the 3-part series finale. Damn.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so tell me that again, because I heard it, but
So
it didn't
fourth
register.
place with a 90%. We had the finale and the both finales basically.
Oh, the 2-part finale.
Yeah, the 2-part finale and then the final episode.
Oh, and last.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it sounds about right. Maybe it could be in the 3rd place, but honestly, I mean, they were, that was just the running theme throughout our review of all 3 episodes. Like, good, but in our opinion, not great.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it was good in the fact that it closed everything out. That was good, but going more under the knife with it, it's kind of, it's all right. Not great, but not bad.
Yeah, I mean, the battle scenes were cool and everything, but
the
there was
Endgame reference was good.
Yeah. But yeah, they just weren't. Oh, and the Grogar plot twist was stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all I got. That's all I could say about that. I spent an hour talking about it 2 weeks ago.
Yep. In third place with a 91%, we have She Talks to Angel. This was a great episode. This was a great final Fluttershy episode.
I liked it a lot. In fact, the only thing I liked this episode. I think I loved this episode. I thought it was real good.
Freaky Friday, motherfuckers.
This was Angel's best episode for sure.
Oh yeah.
This actually practically redeemed his character in a way because, like, hey, we're gonna build upon pre-established character actions, expand upon them, and yeah, no, that was good. Talk about foreshadowing. Yeah, I'm Fluttershy. I love animals. I want to marry Discord. Stop right there, criminal scum. But
Yep.
no, turns out you violated the law, but you don't have to pay a fee. That's what that was.
Yeah. She basically did the stealth thing where she dropped the bucket over their head and stole everything in the store. Skyrim reference,
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what that theme song is. It's a bunch of brass and chorus.
Yep. Now, number 2, we have a whopping 5-way tie.
What?
All with 93%.
You're kidding.
Nope. Twilight 7, Common Ground, Student Council, Between Dusk and Dawn, and Daring Doubt.
Okay, let's okay. Okay, there's 5 episodes. Here. You go in order. We'll go one by one. You give your opinion first on the episodes as you listed them. Then I'll go. Then you do the next one. Then I'll do Then I'll do that one, and that'll be easier. Okay, go with the first one.
Twilight 7, the 200th episode, The Infiltration of Canterlot. Oh, that was so good.
Wait, The Infiltration? I thought that was Summer Sun Setback.
No. No, The Infiltration by the main 6. To get
the right.
Sibling Supreme
Yeah,
crown.
that's right. There were 2 infiltration missions. They just can't get enough of Metal Gear Solid. Anyway, what do you think of this one?
I loved it.
Yes.
Because it gave us more interaction, like more depth into between Shining Armor and Twilight, and having Spike finally being able to know that, yes, he is loved as a family member here. That was great. Um,
I always would have liked to have seen if maybe they explored Spike and Twilight's relationship from like an almost paternalistic standpoint, just because she did hatch him. But the brother sister thing, that's fine by me, because that's one of those things that the fandom always inferred, but the show never said outright for some reason. So it was nice for them to give some closure on that. I like that a lot, and the ending was great too. It was the little siblings just donkey punching the older ones. I got 5 older siblings, and I think about punching them all the time.
yep. And I also love um Zephyr Breeze becoming a royal guard.
Oh God.
And DWK's reference to that was perfect. It's like, come on, you just got distracted me. Don't gotta suck his dick or anything. Okay. But maybe just kiss the tip a little bit.
You don't understand. When I watched that episode, I popped for Zephyr Breeze.
Yeah, and I love how he's just like, yeah, all I gotta do is stand around and go,
I love Zephyr Breeze. I know his episode would hit a little too close to home for people, but screw you guys, okay? I thought Zephyr was great, okay? We all have depression. I mean, Jesus, I'm in my mid-20s now. You don't think I'm depressed? But no, I
I'm
thought
almost
Zephyr.
goddamn 30. And I'm
Yeah. Well, you shave that peach fuzz off your face, you could look 22 again.
well, I look 16 when it's clean shaven, okay?
Yeah, well, there you go. It doesn't look like there's a 12-year age gap between you and Katie.
Yeah.
There's not, but
No, it's only 5 years. But anyway, by the way, something that Snakeskin did, we were doing like this little test recording, and
oh no.
and I was talking about how Katie's 5 years younger than me. He's just like, ooh, Robin the Cradle.
Wasn't she in the room?
I don't remember if she was or not.
I don't remember either, but yeah, I mean, it's not too bad. The age gap between my folks is almost 12.
Damn.
Well, my dad's very my dad's a very young soul. I always tell people I'm a very old soul, but I'm an old soul that's like constantly in the mindset of that is constantly in a midlife crisis.
Then we're going to Common Ground. You loved this episode.
Oh, I love this episode a lot. Well, you go first.
Honestly, the only bad thing about this episode was the fact that 4chan got Clop of Windsprint and sent it to Patton Hospital.
I thought this episode was great. You want to talk about an episode that actually hit close to home? This was that episode. I thought the subject matter was handled very well. It was very sweet, and yeah, I just thought it was good. Pretty gutsy for a show like this to tackle that. I mean, I know the between 4 and 10 age demographic of little girls, but if we can include everybody else, awesome. Model has been dropped since the end of season 2, and now the demographics are basically everyone. But still, I mean,
Really going with the My Little Pony references.
that's my ringtone. It's for Bray Wyatt. Anyway, no, I thought the subject was handled very good. And what was I saying? Yeah, no, just that. I thought it was very good. I loved it. The parent trying to connect to the kid that's really into sports, but the parent is not into sports at all. I think that's something everyone can relate to, not just parents and kids specifically, but anyone that's tried to bond with anybody and they're just into something that either you don't like or don't get. Because I know plenty of folks that are into sports, and I have a passing knowledge of most sports, but I'm not like following jerseys and stats. I couldn't tell you the first freaking thing about fantasy football.
No, neither could I.
I mean, I've literally seen MMORPGs with menus less complicated than fantasy football.
Well, really, fantasy football is basically D&D for sports fans.
That is what it is, isn't it? Anyway,
Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
no, ground rule.
yes, I loved it mainly because, Winsprint was really cute. I loved the fact that it may not have sounded the best, but I liked that they brought in Patton Oswalt's kid for that. That was great.
That was good.
And I also liked the fact that the mother of Winsprint was not like condescending about any of it.
Yeah.
She knew that this was something that needed to develop naturally. It can't be forced. And hey, I love the little thing where she took Winsprint aside and was like, hey, he doesn't have to replace your father, but I'd at least want you to know that he wants to be in our lives. So can you at least make it a chance for that to happen? And I was like, wow, that is great right there. Now, between dusk and dawn, Princess is retiring. Luna with burrs in her butt. I want to send a letter to you. I just love the process.
I thought this episode was fantastic. I loved it from beginning to end. I thought it was really good.
Mm-hmm. This just had some really good standout moments, and I loved it. Plus, I also liked that they had a song in here too. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, they had a song, and hey, I remember watching this episode, listening to this song, and I remember thinking to myself, man, it's almost like the princesses should have had their own episode years ago. Had multiple songs.
Yep.
But oh well.
Moving on, student council.
Okay.
The little band thing that kept flashing, and then that scene where Trixie is the one that calls her, and it's all dark, and all of a sudden, just a spotlight on Trixie.
No one can tell me that this episode wasn't at least entertaining. I saw some folks had some mixed reactions to this one. I thought this one was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. I also loved how, like, Starlight was like, no, I can't leave my students and all this and all that. It's like, you're booking yourself too much. Just have, like, from this time to this time. But Starlight is prone to do that. Prone to put.
Yeah, no, she's very prone.
So it was good. And finally, Daring Doubt.
The best Daring Do episode, I still stand by that. And so far, I feel like a good amount of people can agree with that. But, well, I don't know. Because, you got those people that were like, Daring Do's best episode was the one where Rainbow Dash read the story. And it's like, nah, it's this one.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I also loved how they used that truth amulet as a plot device to make everyone telling the truth make sense.
Yeah.
Instead of just, oh, we're going to tell the truth. No, you could see it glowing in their eyes that they were being forced to tell the truth. So it made it believable. It was a good plot device. I loved it. So that was good. And finally, number one, we have our final tie, both with a 96%. We have Frenemies and The Last Crusade. First of all, I have to say, I don't really think Last Crusade, looking back on it, was as good. It was still entertaining, that's for sure. But I definitely think that Frenemies was a lot better than Last Crusade.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I don't really. You pretty much hit it all right there. I mean, I don't have too much more to add. I mean, yeah, no, I agree.
Now let's go through these 2 episodes real quick to get our individual thoughts on it.
Yes, of course. You go first.
Okay, Last Crusade. I love that they made a reference to Crocodile Hunter.
The best thing about that episode was though there was this one part where they made that reference to Crocodile Hunter.
Oh, thank you for just taking the fucking words out of my mouth. I also liked that they made the comedy of them crying and made it into a comedy. That was the best move for it.
They realized their lives weren't a tragedy; they were a comedy.
Yeah. The last meeting of the Cutie Crow Crusaders. Objective number 1: cry.
Yeah, like they made it funny, but there was also like a I thought the scenes where they were sad were like really well acted. I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this should have been the Cutie Mark Crusaders' last episode, though. I mean, in a way, I get the idea is their last episode is, oh, we tried growing up, we're just gonna wait, and that's a really good send off for them, and then the Big Mac episode. But I thought this would have been a little better, just because, I mean, because this is the one where Skulu's parents finally show up.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm surprised they didn't keep that towards the end. I thought this with Big Mac's wedding would have been, I don't know necessarily a better flow of events, but you know, the ants never showed up again after this episode anyway. But again, production order and blah 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 blah. So I get why, but you know, that's just what I think.
Now let's go on to frenemies. That I think the best part about it was seeing them individually have their own little like bantering, but also showing their individuality and how it works together. That was really good.
This was actually for a long time. I was pretty sure anyway that this was my favorite episode of the season. In a way, it still is. Again, it kind of got it didn't get as ruined as other episodes by the finale after the fact, but it was really good. My one complaint doesn't even come with the episode. It's just that there were some character development seeds planted here that never really got followed up on. That was kind of a bummer, but that's not this episode's fault. That's the finale's fault. Mm-hmm. I thought the 3 played off each other very well, had a good flow, pacing was good, and everything the characters said and did made sense, you know, because when they were on their own, they acted like themselves, and when they were together, they acted like themselves, you know. I always felt like the implication was, what I thought this episode was trying to set up was that Cozy Glow is quote unquote closer to Tirek, but Cozy Glow also kind of looks up to Chrysalis because she's so evil. And then Tirek and Chrysalis have this mutual respect for each other. Like that scene at the campfire where she turns into Twilight and then and they're all making fun of her and stuff. I mean, we're supposed to find that funny in the sense of like, oh, look at them bonding, but they're evil. But I thought it was really good. And then they just kind of dropped some things with it. I couldn't. Oh, and the song, Better Way to Be Bad. I thought that song was awesome. That was like one of the best songs in forever.
Oh yeah, agreed. I also love the fact that at the end they're just like, wow, working together is pleasing. And this is all nice. And no, friendship is a disease. No, we're not gonna do this.
She literally said that. She's like, the magic of friendship is a disease. I'm like, yo, that's rock and roll.
Right.
That's awesome.
So metal.
I know. So yeah, I love that episode. This is the best episode of season 9.
Yes.
This is the best episode of season 9, and the Cutie Marker series episode was really good as well. Mm-hmm. But this was my personal favorite. I loved it to death.
Agreed. So let's transition out into how the Bronies were this season. as we always do.
Oh yeah. It was kind of funny. For seasons like 5 and 6, a little bit of 4, a little bit of 7, the fandom was kind of quiet.
Mm-hmm.
But after the movie and once near season 7 where everyone thought that the fandom was ending, and then in season 8 where it was confirmed the show was ending, and then this being the last season, the show did not receive a full resurgence, but in the way you had a lot of people coming back, but in the sense they were just coming back to kind of like say their goodbyes,
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So you had a lot of folks. Even Scullivan on that Brony page, he had mentioned that he'd message some people and be like, "Hey, thanks. The show's ending. I know we haven't talked in forever, but thanks for the memories." And stuff like that. So it was even if you're one of those people that got disenfranchised with it after season 2 and 3 and whatever, I feel like not everyone, but a lot of people came back to see the show off. Now, granted, they're probably going to be confused by some of the characters that they saw, but how do I put this? Supportive. That's what I would say about this. Everybody has been very supportive of each other in this time of what's what I'm looking for?
Of mourning.
Sort of.
The fact that every article was basically just like the Arthur episode.
Yeah.
They hyped it up to, oh, it's a lesbian couple. Oh, it's a gay couple. And there was barely anything to do with any of it. Like,
I mean, to
exactly
be fair,
how it should be.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if anything, the fan base hyped it up because they did just drop it out of nowhere years ago in that one book where in Michigan she lived with her 2 aunts, and that's it. They never really said anything about it. They never shine a light on it because, and I don't think a lot of people understand how these works. If you introduce, because look, I'm all about inclusivity and stuff. That's fantastic because, and the progress we've made as a society in the last like 5-10 years alone is incredible. But the idea is in a show or whatever, you're supposed to introduce it. And I think I said this in the review, but you're supposed to introduce it as if it's a completely normal thing that everyone's cool with, which is what some things do. But the mistake is that they hide us. They shine a spotlight on it. Now, if you wanted to tell us, which they did in this episode, but this has a point. If you were like say you had an episode of another show, and you wanted to do an episode about the LGBTQA, which I think a long time ago used to be GLBT, but whatever. So you have your LGBT couple, and you want to do an episode about them, falling in love and overcoming hardships, that's great. Do that. And there's always going to be folks that give you hardships when you're I shouldn't say that, but it's realistic to experience hardships when you go through something like that. And if you're going to show that, awesome. That's not shining a spotlight. That's telling a good story. Shining a spotlight is if you do that, but you're very one-sided and preachy about it, and then your LGBT characters become just a bunch of random character traits and preconceived expectations and not actual characters. So what this show did, it's like, hey, here's Scootaloo, here's her 2 aunts, they're very clearly married, they're very clearly in the relationship, they're very clearly living together, and we're presenting it as a normal thing. Because since this is a kids show, it gives off, and because kids are smart, it gives off the implication to the children that, hey, this is a normal thing. Now it's up to the parents for them to be like, mommy, daddy, or any combination of parents, and they're just like, why were this show showed them 2 women's is married together? Then it's up to the parents to be like, yeah, it's completely normal. And then the kid grows up appreciating it better. Not like you have some of these Netflix shows where they confuse characters and storytelling propaganda and metaphorical what's the word? The megaphones.
Mhm.
That's why I like this. That's why I like this so much, was because it was just an episode. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So everything felt natural and normal. That's why I liked it.
Mhm.
I mean, this is one of the few shows in my lifetime that I've watched from beginning to end. I can count the shows I've done that with on maybe two hands. And we're talking like, the 4 different Dragon Ball series. We're talking we're talking Breaking Bad, we're talking like Three's Company and Friends and Zoe 101. Yeah, Zoe 101. That show was good.
Drake and Josh.
Zoe 101 is the kind of good that people think Lizzie McGuire and That's So Raven was.
Mhm.
Zoe 101 was actually good. Anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, not many shows I can say that I've watched from beginning to end. I mean, BoJack Horseman's ending, I guess, the first, this year, and then there's like a finale thing in next January, and there's some more I'm probably forgetting. But it was, in a way, I'm not as sad, I guess, as not to be cringe. I mean, I'm not like the whole, don't be sad it's over, just be glad that it happened or whatever. I'm not like that about it.
Mhm.
I mean, look, I'm a pretentious philosophicaler at times, but it's just kind of like it's like I said at the beginning. In a way, when it was over, it was like, after all this build up and tension, it's like, it was like the Band-Aid getting ripped off. It's like, that hurt, but it's over now. And, and yeah, of course, now there's that little bit of melancholicness that there's, going to be no more lore, no more episodes and whatever. But at the same time, it just feels complete, the way it ended, the way it began. It's, I guess it's just one of those things where it's like, it was time to move on, and I have no regrets. That's kind of my general thought. I mean, Jesus, I was oh God, I was 2010, I believe, is when I first watched it. Maybe late 2009, but I was 15 or 16 when when I first watched the show. And now I'm in my mid 20s, and it's like I was out of the demographic when I started watching it. But in many ways, I almost felt like when you're with any show for however long, you feel like you grow with it. And I can't say and I also didn't grow up with it, but it's just been that constant that's been there for like 9 years, almost 10 years. So it's kind of it's weird because it's not like, if you're in a relationship for like 10 years and all of a sudden you break up or split, because no matter how amicable it is, it hurts. This is more, it's hard to describe, because I've seen people when shows end, they're furious, with the way it ends. Like I don't know, Sopranos or something, like with the way that ended in other shows. But this, it's just like it's like a thing where it's like, what the ending of Friendship is Magic is? It makes you want to buy one of those shirts that like bands or whatever have when they play a venue. It's like a big venue, like when Metallica a couple years ago played that show before a day or two before the Super Bowl, and it's like I was there, and like you wear. That's what the end of the show feels like. It feels like you symbolically have a I was there t-shirt, but like you wear it on your heart. Oh God, that's crazy.
No, I get what you mean. I get what you mean. Now, one other thing that I noticed about the fandom throughout all this is, how every year, one or two people do that big collaborative thing where it's like Bronies of 2017 and all that stuff, and they bring in like fan-made music or whatever. I felt like there was a lot more of that for this season because the show was ending.
Yeah, it was like it was literally, it was the final countdown, so everyone wanted to either get their last bit in before they had to figure out what to do for the rest of their lives as far as content goes. And also, like I said, they wanted to. The show was not, because the show was so big and so special to so many people, it wasn't just a show was ending. It's like, this is a chapter. This is literally, it's like you said on your Facebook, it's literally a chapter of life that's coming to a close, This isn't like, it's like if someone, it's like, okay, imagine you followed One Piece, the anime that's still going on since like the mid late 90s or whatever, Toonami. You've watched every episode. One day it just ends. It's over. It's done. It's like it's hard to imagine just moving on or forgetting that, because it was such a big part. It was such a lasting presence for so long. How do you think some of those old people felt watching Bonanza for 20 years, then all of a sudden the last episode airs? I mean, there were some people where it's like, dude, I've had friends and family live and die while this show was on. I mean, that's the same with me with Friendship is Magic. I mean, there was a lot of highs, but there was a lot of lows while the show was on. And granted, the show doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, have too much to do with that. And I unfortunately, I'm not one of those folks that can say that the show saved me or really comforted me in a dark time of need or nothing like that, because there are things that have been there for me for that, and the show's very special to me, but I can't say that that was one of the things it was there for. But it's to think back on it to where I was during season, because when season 1 ended, because I told you, when I was going back and watching season 1, it was halfway through season 2, so I remember when season 2's finale aired, I watched it like a week or two after premiere because I still had some episodes to catch up on. So, and that was God, my June, no wait, 2009, 2010. That was like the end of my sophomore / during my junior year in high school.
When the show started?
Yeah, when the show started. Because I went to high school in 2008, and then that ends in 2009. So, oh no, it was before that. It was. Probably getting my dates mixed up, but it was sophomore year I started watching. I know that. And then when senior year happened, that's when I, when that all wrapped up, that's when I started going to college, which didn't amount to much. But then I started my own YouTube channel, which that's how we met. And now my YouTube channel has been converted into my band's YouTube channel because I'm trying to get my music going, which you can find at Bandcamp and SoundCloud under the name Justifiable Treason. And it's like, and even just talking about that, remembering where I was for there. I mean, you were making your you had a couple remixes on your channel. You had your reaction videos with you and Brian. You and I tried to start that pony psychology thing that never really went anywhere, and and all this other stuff. I mean, we've gone through like 7 different formats on how to review the episodes since season 4. First, for the first episode of season 4, I sent you the video and you painstakingly edited it.
It took me like 6 hours.
And you were like, screw that, I'm not doing that again. And then we had title cards for a bit, and then we switched to Google Plus for forever, which died, and then we went back to Skype. So in that weird way, it came full circle, because when we first met, you and I would hang out on Skype for hours because you had a night job and I wasn't working yet. So it's like,
it was one of those things that I was, if the place where I worked, as long as I had my duties done, I would be able to just do whatever the heck I wanted if I wanted to watch.
You and I watched so many MLP YouTube poops.
Oh yeah, we would literally talk for hours, and that's where the whole Star Wars thing on my personal channel came with the Nerdcast, because I was literally ranting and raving one night about episode 2. I'm just like, so this fucking thing.
And then I was just like, dude, I'm just like, dude, I love Phantom Menace and I love Revenge of the Sith, but Attack of the Clones, I love the Clone Wars and everything that's come of that. But and you know, I love being in Battlefront fighting the droids, but I'm like, Attack of the Clones can, and I love Jango Fett, but overall, I'm like, yeah, Attack of the Clones can eat it. So, you know, just stuff like that, you know, it's more than a show ending. It's one of those things that you see like when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out. You know, when a new Kingdom Hearts game comes out, it's not like when a new Final Fantasy comes out, because each Final Fantasy, because each game's a completely different game unless it has an explicit sequel, is essentially its own universe with its own unique fan base. When Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, because the game hasn't been in development since Kingdom Hearts 2. People have just wanted it since Kingdom Hearts 2 back in 2005. And like Kingdom Hearts was another type of thing where it's like, except over the course of how long's it been on now? 17 years, because it's like, you know, so many memories and friendships got started, you know, and all these different things and communities. You know, I explicitly have had several friends meet over that. And then now the Kingdom Hearts story is still continuing on, but the arc setup from Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 3 is over. The story with Sora continues, but it's, you know, it's wrapped up. So, you know, it's a similar thing. It's like it's I mean, geez, I just have so many memories. It's hard, and I know I've been going on and on forever, but it's just it's hard to explain to someone that wasn't there, you know. And trust me, I get it. Okay, I understand how it looks. You're literally looking at two almost 30-year-olds talking in an almost whimsical nature about how much they loved the show and the impact it had. And there's things, and people can find those things that they connect to and find friends with and find community with. You can find it for anything: movies, sports, television shows, video games. But this one's, and I've had experiences with most of those mediums, you know, meeting people. But I mean, with Friendship is Magic was a completely different beast, because it's not like, oh, I got a few bros that I hang with all the time, or it's like, oh, I met some online buddies we share memes with. I mean, it's like, I mean, it's that got me into the internet. Well, not into the internet, but that got me creating content on the internet, which, yeah, I never really went anywhere, but I gave it the old college try, you know, and met plenty of people. You know, I met John here, who's like one of my best buddies. I went to his goddamn wedding. You know, and it's like, that's not something that just happens. Well, it is something that just happens, but it's not like it happens with just anything. I mean, I mentioned some shows earlier. I couldn't imagine that happening over something like, you know, like, I don't know, The Sopranos or Breaking Bad. Game of Thrones, I could have seen that. But you know, but there's certain mediums that are just transformative like that, and it's a lot fewer than people think. Like, if we're going by video games, I could think of like 5 examples off the top of my head. I mean, something that big that could bring people together, like maybe the Mario fan base, the Sonic fan base, the Kingdom Hearts fan base, the Metal Gear fan base. You know what? Until Bungie left, I would have honestly said the Halo fan base. And to give them some credit, the Call of Duty fan base. I mean, people love to rip on those games, but people love those games. They love playing them. You know, there's to this day, there's communities, there's reviewers and personalities based on that, because and granted, most of the Call of Duty fan base seems to be talking about how they wish every game was like Modern Warfare 2, but with Black Ops 2's online play. But whatever, you know. And yeah, the Sonic fan base can be horrible, but you know, it's Friendship is Magic. It was in a league of its it had peers, but in its own way, it was in a league of its own. That's you know, that's I can say. I mean, it's one of those, you know, how when you you know how like when you see Disney stuff, Disney has that way of things appearing larger than life. Like when you see Mickey Mouse or Darth Vader, which that was before Disney owned them, but you know, Mickey Mouse, Darth Vader, you know, Donald Duck, Tony Stark, I guess, who realistically went from, I'm not saying he was a nobody before Robert Downey Jr., but who was essentially like the face of B-list superheroes, except for maybe Captain America. But now he's arguably at least the third or fourth most recognizable superhero on the planet, behind Spider-Man, Supes, and Batman. When before that he would have been like number 10. And it's like they transcend their entertainment medium, you know. So Mickey Mouse doesn't just feel like a cartoon character; he feels like an actual, like an actual tangible entity.
Yeah,
Same
he
with
feels something like something more.
Yeah, well, Friendship is Magic for me had that same, or like I'll use other examples like Goku or something, you know, Mario, you know, Sonic, Cloud, Strife, you know, depending on who you are, Master Chief. These guys that are just bigger than life things. You know, I truly think that Friendship is Magic was like that, but it wasn't a specific character. It was the whole show.
Now, one thing I'm going to say before we end it off, because we have been talking for quite a while. This show in general has changed a lot about me. Like, I'll tell you this. Before this show, my musical tastes were a little limited. I wasn't
EDM
into a
and
lot
Skillet.
Well, no, I wasn't really even into EDM before Ponies.
That's
Ponies
right.
actually opened my eyes to the larger EDM scene. I never went to concerts outside of Skillet before MLP. I wasn't big into other big shows like Doctor Who or Breaking Bad or whatever before this show. And the show and the fandom opened all those doors for me. Like, yes, I had a YouTube channel, but I never had like an expansive YouTube channel as I do now. I didn't have all this memorabilia behind me before My Little Pony. Like all the Zelda stuff right here. I didn't have the pictures, the shield, any of this. And the show really broadened my horizons is really what I can say. So, but yeah. So.
It was part of your wedding vows.
Yeah.
Well, it was specifically part of Katie's wedding vows.
Yes, my wife was literally just like, and I will watch My Little Pony if you watch WWE with me.
Wrestling and ponies were part of your guys' wedding vows. I was like, damn, I almost want to marry both of you.
and then we had Love Is in Bloom as our
That's a good song. That is a good song.
Yeah. And we had a pony song for our first dance.
Oh God, that's right. What was it?
My Cadence by Ponyphonic, I believe.
I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking to myself, was it a long way from Equestria? No, it wasn't.
No.
That was a good song, though. Wasn't that Mondo Pony?
No, I believe it was Ponyphonic and Matthew Moiser, I believe.
And then, really quick, one funny memory, then we'll go.
Yeah.
Was it because of us? No. But it's only a coincidence that those snobby wankers does everybody remember Everfree Radio? After we put out our video roasting them on my old channel, coincidentally less than a year later that thing died and none of them have had any work. Mostly, you know, the thing with the cons and how Final Draft was just a total tool. You know, it was it was you know, and some people in the I wanted to remember that because you and I talked for like 40 minutes on why they sucked. And so now some of the people have actually gone on to have decent careers. I mean, who was that one gal that always voiced Twilight and all the
Oh, Rena Chan?
Rena Chan. Yeah, she's gotten a lot of work. I think she's actually started to get work, and she works with the Team 4-Star guys. She was Aerith in their Final Fantasy VII abridged, but she's starting to get real work. You have Eli Monty, who's trying to make it. Living Tombstone has like an actual career. Like I've seen him pop up in not super mainstream places, but other mainstream places. I think Prince Whatever's trying to do his own original music. Unfortunately, Metalcore Pony didn't do much, which is a shame because I thought he was rad. But you know, a lot of talented folks actually got something out of this fandom. So that was kind of cool to see for some of them. I don't know why Saber Spark still has a job, but whatever. I guess people like his videos.
Well, it's the same thing with what is you were talking about Living Tombstone. Oh, Black Griffin.
Black Griffin.
His thing.
Yeah. Yeah, he's him and Josh Scorcher too. I mean, he kind of had stuff going on before he started doing MLP.
He was
but
one
that
of the biggest top 10 countdown producers.
But after he started reviewing that, and then coupled with his off and on again let's play of Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix, he's one of the bigger. I don't know how big he is now, but he's still a pretty decent sized name that people know. So it's cool. Michelle Creeber, the one who voices Sweetie Belle.
Oh, Claire Corlett.
Claire Corlett. I don't know why I forgot that. She was my favorite one, but she, she's in like an acting school now doing stuff, and it's everyone involved got elevated from where they were.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? To close it out, as a nice little bow on top of everything, at least no one remembers and employs SOGAP.
Thank God.
And
so with that, that's it from me, John.
That's it from me, Snakeskin.
And we will talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.
See you on the next one.